Arizona basketball gets back on track against Southern Utah, but did we really learn anything, or was this just a fool's gold moment?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. This show is brought to you today by FanDuel. Check it out. You can put down $5 and you get $150 in free plays if you're a new customer and that bet hits. Check it out at FanDuel.com. All right. Arizona basketball was at the point now where they just needed to get a win. I don't know if there's any way around that. Arizona just needed to get a win. You've lost, and again, you've lost to every Power 4 team you played. So again, that is something that you're going to have to continue to work on. But overall, a win is a win is a win. Now, I think a few things that we need to be able to talk about here, though, are the bench play. Obviously, the bench was much better, and a big part of that starts with KJ Lewis coming off the bench. I love this move for Arizona because Carter Bryant just fits better in the starting lineup. He's longer, he's more angular, and it just kind of makes things look a little bit better out there for Arizona. Now, the next thing that I think you also need to look at is KJ Lewis is also a very good spark off the bench, in my opinion. KJ Lewis is I think he had his best game of the season, but Arizona needs KJ Lewis to come in there and be a difference maker. If he's a difference maker, then Arizona is going to be in really, really good shape. Again, this is somebody that we need to look like a pro. I think that was a huge part of the expectations this season, that KJ Lewis was going to look like an NBA player. You need KJ Lewis to look like that. Again, this was Southern Utah. This was not a good basketball team that Arizona was playing, but again, he still got back on there. So I think the starting lineup makes a lot more sense at this point, because you also know at this stage too that up front, there's going to be some issues, and it's a below-the-rim team. Getting a guy like Carter in there definitely helps. As far as this one thing that we can definitely tell about this team is they can't shoot at all. That's definitely something that is going to be a problem, and that is going to be a problem pretty much all season. Anthony Del Orso, who I like, and it's definitely somebody who's going to play. Del Orso is going to be the player that is going to be the one that is he's going to have to make shots, because the problem is defensively he can't play. So you're going to have to be able to be in there and make some plays for he's going to have to be able to be in there and make plays for others, as well as himself, mainly by making threes, because that'll make plays for others. Trey Townsend, I think, is the one up front that's got to be able to score, and he's definitely a below-the-rim player, but he's got to be able to get buckets, and if he can get buckets, then I think Arizona's in a better shape. Here's where I'm at with Mo Krivas. I don't really know what to make of Mo Krivas. Mo just really isn't that good. He's not bad. He doesn't suck, but you watch him. He's slow. He's kind of goofy. He's not super coordinated, and that's just kind of the way that it is. There's really no other way around it. That's just kind of who Mo Krivas is. Umar Ballo, leader of men, was obviously a player that I think a lot of people probably took for granted last year, and that he could finish around the hoop. Yes, he couldn't make any shot, or he couldn't make free throws, but he was a defensive presence, and that was a big thing about him. And offensively, he was able to score. Defensively, he wasn't good in the pick and roll, but that's still a problem. That's still a problem, though, that this entire team has. They are not good, and they're not good in the pick and roll. They're not going to be good in the pick and roll. And we're going to get to some of the questions here that do persist about Tommy Lloyd, but Caleb Love, another one. I like Caleb Love, but he also appeared somewhat disinterested in this game, and that is a problem for me. I cannot have somebody like this be disinterested, and not only can I not have somebody like this being disinterested, I can't have somebody like that. I can't have somebody that just kind of looks like they're just kind of going through the motions. That to me is unacceptable. And not only is it unacceptable, it is something that I think that we're kind of at the stage now where you just know that you got to be better. Not only do you got to be better, you've got to be a high impact player. And Caleb Love so far this season has not been that, and that has been a very, very difficult that has been a very, very difficult thing for me to watch because I was hoping coming back this year that he was going to diversify his game a little bit, and it just doesn't seem like that is the that is the case. Not only does it not feel like that's the case, it feels like this is a situation where you also know that this is probably just going to be who he is. I was hoping that he was going to be to the point where you can be like, all right, he's going to be able to get to the hoop more. He's going to be able to help out teammates. I just don't know that that's the case at this point. That to me, I don't know if that's on Tommy Lloyd. I don't know if that is on Caleb Love, if it's a combination of both. Whatever the case may be, I'm not exactly sure, but either way, it's not good enough. But off the bench, like I said, I think you've gotten some solid bench play, but the team just still kind of looks lost to me. Again, a win is a win. Arizona needed this. I'm still at that stage where Arizona just needed to get a victory. But there are some major questions that still persist, and we are going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, there are no questions that persist about FanDuel. Here's the deal with FanDuel. You can put down $5 and you can get over $150 in free plays if you're a new customer. Think about that. You got the NFL here. You got the NBA. You've got, not only do you have all of that, you got college football here, and think to yourself, man, I think I know a little bit more than maybe somebody else does. I want to put a little bit of skin in the game here. This is where you can get that skin in the game. So again, check it out. Check it out when if you've got like I said, if you've got any inkling on something going on, you want to bet into the future, you want to bet later, this is where you got it. And not only do you where you got it, you've also got kind of a situation where you can watch pretty much anything you want, and you can bet on it, make a little bit of money. Check it out at FanDuel. You will thank me later. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke, and thanks for making this your first listen of the day. All right, again, I love Tommy Lloyd, but there's something that still I do not get, and I don't get, and I don't quite understand at all what is still going on here, and that is honestly the perimeter defense. At this stage in the game, I mean, Southern Utah, you gave up 10 threes, and again, you're just giving them wide open shots. I don't know how this is still an issue, and I don't know why this isn't being corrected. And it just it drives me up a wall. I think the thing about it that's also interesting is why are we at this point? You've been killed before by teams like this. Why are we continuing to be at this point? And I think that we're also at the point too that you also know where that this is going to be an issue. And why aren't you getting out there? I'd almost rather have you get guys out at the 3-point line and make them drive. And not only make them drive, be able to because here's the problem. And we've seen this against West Virginia, we saw this against Oklahoma. Even if teams are missing wide open threes, eventually they're going to start making them. Oklahoma, Arizona got right back into the game, and guess what? You gave up an easy bucket. You gave up 4 easy 3-pointers. They were wide open. The game was over. Look at West Virginia. Same thing. You get back in the game. You go into overtime. Guess what? You just start giving Tucker DeVries wide open threes. That doesn't work. Not only does that not work, it is a recipe for disaster. I do think we're at the point too with this where we're also at the point where you've got to be able to find some kind of identity on the defensive side. And not only some kind of identity on the defensive side, you've got to be able to do something, whatever that is, whether that's speeding it up, whether that is, getting in there. I think that you've got to be able to get something in there that is going to make teams, think about Arizona a little bit. And if they don't think about those things, then I think that you're going to be in a little bit of problems. And that's going to continue to be the case for Arizona. And I think we're also at the point I think we're also at the point where you do know that this is going to be an issue. So Arizona's going to have to figure something out here. And I think a big part of this too is what is Tommy Lloyd going to do? Because I actually think this team's going to win out the rest of this conference out of conference. I think they're going to win out. But is that just going to be fool's gold? That's the thing. These are the things that I'm looking for. Is the effort? I don't know why the effort isn't better. That's still on him at the end of the day. And again, I don't know why you're deciding not to defend the three-pointer. That is an issue for me. And not only is that an issue, it is it's at some point we start wondering what exactly is going on here, because this isn't rocket science what we're talking about. Not only is this not rocket science, this is something where you just kind of know that, hey, dude, this should be done. I don't know what else to say. This should be done. And that's just kind of the way it is. So going forward, though, you got to find a defensive identity, because the defensive identity right now of just leaving guys wide open is not going to it's not going to work. You got to speed the game up. But again, there were some positives to take away from this. I very much like Carter Bryant in the starting lineup. Got 9 rebounds. And I think he's going to continue to get better as the season goes on. You watch him, he moves different than everybody else. He just looks a little bit different than everybody else. And plus the roster just kind of fits a little bit better. If you've got Caleb Love, you've got Jaden Bradley, and then you've got Carter Bryant. Plus, I think you're going to find out, too, that Carter Bryant can score a little bit more than he's shown. Up front, I got to get more, or Trey Townsend, he's got to be able to get me 15 points a game. I got to be able to get 15, because I think he's the only one that's capable of that. Not only do I think that he's the only one that's capable of that, I also think that we're kind of at the stage, too, like I said, with a Mo Krivas, that Mo's just not that good. I would love to sit here and say that Mo is going to be, that you can see him becoming a difference maker. I just don't see that at this stage in the game. Not only do I not see that at this stage in the game, I think that he's just kind of too slow. He's just a little too. And Henry is just kind of what he is. Henry is never going to be somebody that is going to make a real difference. Henry isn't bad, but Henry's also just kind of there. He did have 12 points last night, and I think that you could make the case, honestly, I think you could easily make the case that Henry has been better than Krivas this season. So that's not really a good thing, but it just kind of is what it is. Jaden Bradley is the epitome of a player that I don't worry about. Jaden Bradley defensively is going to be a monster. And, offensively, he's going to have some good games, he's going to have some bad games, but I always know that I'm going to get full effort, and that's really all I care about. After watching guys like Kirk Kriisa, after watching guys like Kylan Boswell, all I want is a full effort, and I get that from Jaden Bradley. So I got no problem there. But Caleb Love looking disinterested to me is not a great thing, and I think that you've got to be able to figure that one out. And not only do you have to figure that one out, you've got to be able to get to the point, too, where you're like, dude, are you going to be an All-American, or what are we doing here? Because right now what's going on is not acceptable. You're getting paid a lot of money, deservedly so, for what you did last year, but you're also looking disinterested. I can't have that. I've got to have a fully engaged Caleb Love, and because Arizona's not going to go where they want to go without a fully engaged Caleb Love. So that's a big part of it, and we know what he can do. We've seen it before, and I mean, heck, he's still the one that wants to take shots at the end of the game that nobody else wants to take. That is a big part of all this, but you got to step your game up. And a lot of this is on Tommy as well. Tommy's got to be able to hold guys accountable, and if they're not playing well, you got to be able to sit them on the bench. That's just basically the way it is. But you also need more talent. I think that we've seen that, and that's why we've talked about with the 2025 recruiting class, you got to bring in 3 5-stars. This is the class that you've been working for, and you need to inject a level of talent that is just not on this team yet. And if Arizona can do that, then maybe Arizona is going to be in a little bit better spot. But we will see. Again, Arizona's off this entire week, so we're just going to be talking a lot of football. I would imagine there's going to be some staff changes, some staff announcements here coming in shortly, and we're going to break all of that down. But again, Arizona at least gets back in the win column. That's something good for the Wildcats, especially when you start off in the top 10 preseason. But probably going to focus almost exclusively on football this week because I would expect there's some announcements to be made, and we will talk about all of that along the way. But as always, thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. We will be back with you tomorrow.